The Kyle Odom Reptilian story by Brent Lewis. I'ma like their video, like my video, support your boy. Let's see what they're talking about. Hey, hey.
One of the craziest stories I've ever heard is that of Kyle Odom, the bright young college student who one day snapped and shot 6 hollow-point rounds into a pastor he believed was a reptilian.
Whoa. This is how we starting the video off, huh?
Now, what makes this story even stranger is the fact that the pastor came out of this relatively unharmed, returned to work 2 weeks later, and then was elected to a prominent government position.
What? What? I don't advocate popping at people, but he might have been on to something. I don't know, bro. What?
Even though he was shot 5 times in the torso and once in the head.
Once he was shot in the head?
Hollow point rounds. So let's start to unpack why Kyle thought it was necessary to pull off this heinous crime to begin with.
Here's my thing, right? Even if you felt like the pastor was a reptilian, bro, you shouldn't put yourself in that position, bro, to even get locked up like that. If anything, you would have did more by just exposing him. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't expose him after you look crazy for popping at him. You feel me?
Answer to this question lies in his manifesto, which can be found on the Internet Archive.
I'm not
but
reading
let's
that.
start with, who is Kyle Odom?
If y'all want to read that, bro, go ahead and read. I'm not reading that, bro.
Born and raised in North
Actually, I might read some of it. As I learned more about meditation, I became interested in consciousness. The moment I began this, I became over. I don't know.
the Internet Archive.
I'll
But
find
let's
reading all
start
that.
with, who is Kyle Odom? Born and raised in North Idaho, he grew up in a loving family. He joined the Marine Corps after high school and developed an interest in science. He went to school for a degree in biochemistry. He won numerous scholarships and awards. He graduated magna cum laude, then joined the University of Idaho. So why would he do this? Why would he throw his life away when he had so much to live for?
Yeah.
Well, according to him, his life was ruined. It was ruined by an intelligent species of amphibian humanoids from Mars. I wish I was joking. So here are the bullet points that Odom wants people to know about these amphibian humanoids. Basically, they were here long before we ever existed. Their technology is millions of years more advanced than ours, and he's seen
So are they lizards or amphibian?
them do things that defy all
Because lizards are reptiles, you know, amphibians are amphibians.
comprehension. They have a massive breeding stock of humans, which they breed and control from birth. They use these humans to live vicarious lives among us. They appear to be completely normal because they're good at imitating human behavior. Now, the actual Martians live deep underground here and inside of the moon. They take control of wild human beings and use them as sex slaves. Don't believe me, he says? Well, ask Obama to take a lie detector test on this one. He says they tried to take me, but they were unable to control my mind, and they've been following me ever since. I tried everything to get my life back. I begged, bargained, and I threatened. I attempted suicide twice, but they stopped me both times. My last resort was to take actions that would bring this to the public's attention. So everything started for Kyle when he was at the University of Idaho in the spring of 2014. It was the final semester, and he was taking a heavy course load. The stress was mounting, so Kyle searched for a way to cope.
He said they tried to get him. No, I'm still listening. They tried to get him, huh? I mean, hey, bro. Hey, bro. When you in the military, bro, stuff like that happen. I know about this one guy who he went to underground bases and saw reptilians, and he even time traveled, apparently. You know what I'm saying? It was wild, but maybe I can find a video for that later.
And what he discovered was meditation. He made it his daily routine, and he got really good at it. Now, this continued until he encountered another being through meditation. Essentially, he went into another realm, and this entity telepathically told him, "You shouldn't be here." Instantly, Kyle felt guilty for trespassing into this psychedelic realm. And this emotion he had a positive impact on this being, who then considered Kyle to be a good guy, and I guess they merged, and
What?
he felt unconditional love. Their minds
Okay, I remember reading that in the beginning of the video.
became connected, and it was an extremely powerful and life-altering experience. Now, the rest of that semester suddenly became exceedingly easy for Kyle. He felt like he had tapped into some kind of power.
Okay.
He exerted no mental effort, aced all of his tests, and did amazing, even in classes that were extremely difficult before. So after he
Okay.
graduated college, he started to interview for graduate school, and he accepted an offer from Baylor College of Medicine to work on a PhD in human genetics. This Kyle was very excited about. However, everything changed once he started the program. The moment he arrived, he could see flaws in every professor's research. His mind was so expanded that he could instantly understand the implications of entire research projects, and he was able to see the weaknesses in them. Kyle would voice his concerns to his advisors, but they casually would brush him aside. He tried to stay motivated, but he couldn't stop seeing the flaws in the foundations of genetics. So eventually he decided to leave the program. And the day after he decided to leave, his life became a living hell. He couldn't sleep, his mind felt zapped. After a few days of this, 2 graduate students from his class began to reach out to him. Kyle thought this was strange because they never actually really talked in class. Then when Kyle went to actually hang out with them, they started acting very strange. Unprovoked, they would point their fingers at him in the shape of a gun and go pew pew like they were shooting at him. They kept doing this, and Kyle wondered what their problem was. Later, Kyle writes in his manifesto, he discovered that they actually were not human, and they were tasked with making him the next school shooter.
Instead of being a school shooter, he became a church shooter.
Anyway, Kyle continues. Things slowly began to improve after he stopped talking with them, but still was mentally exhausted. However, in spring of 2015, Kyle's luck seemed to turn around, and he was invited to go to an interview with a prominent food company. Unfortunately, however, the interview didn't go very well, and he had to take a plane to get there. So, anyway, on his plane ride back, things took a strange turn. An older gentleman sitting in front of him kept glancing back at him until he got his attention. And as he kept looking back, Kyle's head began to hurt and tingle. Right when this happened, the old gentleman's lips began to curl up into an evil-looking smile. The pain in Kyle's head continued and got more intense as time went on. Every time Kyle felt it, the man would start taking notes in a notepad. About halfway through the flight, someone else in front of him held up a newspaper that said psychic reading for 5 minutes straight. It was blatantly obvious they were doing something to him, but he didn't know what. Once they landed, the older gentleman kept showing Kyle his track phone as if to say, get one of these. Now, Kyle had applied to several government agencies before this happened, so he thought this might be their way of contacting me. Out of curiosity, he decided to go buy a track phone. He would check it every day to see if anyone messaged or called. About a month later, he received a text message from a man named John. He invited him to come to church at the altar. It seemed to be like a strange place to be recruiting for government jobs, but Kyle went anyway. However, after he got there and went inside, something felt very wrong. He felt as if his...
Why was he... Hold up. It felt like someone was manually pumping blood into my anus. That's wild. Anyway, I received the most unnatural erection ever. What, bro? Okay, hold up. Bro was trying to work for the government, though? It's wild.
Life was in danger.
I mean, he was a Marine, though. I guess it's not too out the range of possibility.
And became so uncomfortable he had to leave. A couple days later, Kyle started to receive other text messages from someone named Tim at the church. At first, they were innocuous Bible messages, but then he started threatening him. He sent messages talking about their power and other things.
What?
He then sent a final text message, which simply said angels. Kyle thought nothing of it until helicopters started flying around his house all day and night. At this point, he knew he was in trouble.
Yo, that's fucking wild, bro. Imagine, imagine you get a text that John says angels. Nigga, now it's 10 helicopters above your ass. Fuck that.
He knew he needed to contact them, so
son.
he made an appointment to meet John for coffee. After making the appointment to see John, something very bizarre happened. Kyle started to receive spontaneous, I'm going to say it, erections. It felt like someone was manually forcing him to have these at inappropriate times. And whenever this happened, a song would start playing in his head, and it would repeat the same words over and over again, saying, he's just a plaything, we want to make him stay up all night. And according to him, they weren't kidding because he was not able to sleep at all each and every night. Each time he would drift off, he was woken up violently by the song. So one morning after all of this, Kyle gets out of bed and he's relieved because all of a sudden the song stopped playing. He thought the torture was over. Well, until a voice entered his mind and said, you're going to be uncomfortable. All you have to do is breathe. While he sat there wondering what this meant, the voice spoke again, saying, you will be sacrificed like Jesus and get beheaded.
Oh, nah,
this
bro.
threw Kyle into a complete panic, and he began to have a mental breakdown.
Okay, I want to know why did they target him specifically? You know what I'm saying? That's what I want to know. Like, assuming that this is all true, why target him? Like, I don't get it. I mean, they did want to make him a school shooter, though. And they do let the CIA does that with a lot of people. But like, why him though? Like, there has to be something about him that they noticed, which was like, oh yeah, we want him. Could it be that he started meditating, so his mind was a bit more open? I don't know. Could it be that I don't know? I want to know why, like why they target him specifically though.
A few minutes later, some man knocked on the door, and when Kyle answered, he gave him a pamphlet talking about the sacrifice of
Nah,
Jesus.
bro. Nah, bro. See, when stuff like that start happening, nah, bro. Because stuff like that's even spooky when it's like a good thing. Like, you ever like had a thought about something and then you just see a pamphlet on the floor or some shit that refers to that thing? Even that be spooky sometime. But like this, oh fuck that.
Sent him into a complete
Nah,
delirium.
son. Nah, son.
Kyle figured he was never going to see his family again. He was
Nah,
going to
son.
die. And
Nah,
all he could
son.
think about was seeing them again. Now, they lived in Albuquerque at the time, so he decided to buy a
Albuquerque!
one-way ticket there. When Kyle reached the Spokane airport, his panic began to subside. Everything was fine until he got on the plane. Kyle sat next to a huge man who kept telling him telepathically that he was going to crash the plane. And every time after he spoke, he would sniff emphatically. Kyle didn't know what to do, so he just sat there as calm as possible. Now, this angered the man, and he started touching Kyle's leg. And the second he did, Kyle could feel the man inside of his mind. This caused him to panic until he was on the verge of causing a scene. But before he did anything, the man told him to calm down. He said,
Whether this is real or fake, we're going to treat this like everything he's saying is real. Because that just makes this video way better. You know what I'm saying? Could it be fake? Sure. Could it just be some crazy ass nigga? Sure. Do reptilians exist? They definitely do. Are they evil as hell? They definitely are. Do they do things like this? Yes, the fuck they do. You know what I'm saying? So whether this is fake or not, we're going to treat this like it's 100% real, bro. I don't want to have no comments like, oh, no, this shit fake. I don't want to hear that. Because even if it is, bro, even if it's proven to be fake, it's better that this is experienced as if it was real, since stuff like this really do be happening, bro. It is pretty wild, though, what's happening so far.
"You did a great..." But before he did anything, the man told him to calm down. He said, "You did a great job. You passed. Go enjoy your family. We have a job waiting for you when you get back." Kyle thanked him and felt slightly relieved, but he had no intention of contacting him at all.
What are we doing?
His only thought was to
what
get
are they doing? What is the point of all this?
as far away from him as possible. Now, after getting off the plane, Kyle headed to baggage claim, and a huge group of them surrounded him there. Kyle began watching them cautiously, and they all began to sniff at him. Kyle writes, "The sniff is something they do all the time. I think it has something to do with dominance." When Kyle finally got his bag, he left the...
Or it could be like smelling your aura, your energy or some shit. Like, what the I don't see how a sniff would deal with dominance. Like how the fuck niggas go... I'm trying to fix my shit. But how the fuck is a sniff like some... Yeah, nigga. I'm trying to sniff. My nose kind of congested right now. I ain't gonna cap. But, nigga, fuck you mean this is a sign of dominance? What nigga sniffs you to dominate you? What the hell? Nah, I think it's more about they're trying to get your scent. You feel me?
airport as fast as he could. His parents were right outside waiting to pick him up. He was so happy to see them again. He gave them big hugs and told them how much he loved them. However, he writes this was his last happy moment in Albuquerque because these people followed him everywhere they went. And whenever he saw one, they would sniff at him just to let him know that it was them. They would also smile, laugh, and stick out their...
maybe this sniff is a way of dominating. It's like, nigga, we smell you, bitch. Huh. I don't know, bro. That's weird.
Tongues. Now, as time went on, that it was them. They would also smile, laugh, and stick out their tongues. Now, as time went on, they began coaxing him to go outside alone. Kai was scared to death.
Well, I know it's crazy, though. This Jones sound like it could really happen, though. Like, that sound like some shit that a reptilian would do, bro. Just start teasing your ass. Especially if you're a nigga who already kind of like... A nigga like him, bro, because off of just seeing his picture, he looked like he'd naturally be bugged out anyway. You feel me? I could see reptilians doing this shit to a nigga, bro.
That they would kill him, so he refused. Eventually, alone,
what happened?
Kai was scared to death that they would kill him, so he refused. Eventually, they threatened to harm his family, which caused him to give in to them. Kyle told them he would do whatever they wanted as long as they left his family alone. Yeah. They responded by saying, "Go to church." He knew they meant the altar, so he agreed to go once he returned home. So when Kyle went to the altar, the people acted very strange, inhuman. As Kyle walked to the sermon room, everyone stared at him and began sniffing emphatically.
Yo, this sniffing stuff is blowing me, bro.
Say he was scared, but still stared at him and began sniffing emphatically. Needless to say, he was scared, but still took a seat. When the service began, a man came and sat down next to him. After he sat down, Kyle began smelling something. It was a smell he'd never smelt before, like a reptile and vinegar. After Kyle smelled this, he became very uncomfortable. He tried to remain calm and just sat there quietly until the service was over. When the service ended, they said, "You can leave now." After that whole experience, Kyle knew he wasn't dealing with government anymore.
Hold on. Did he think that up to this point, did he think they could have still been the government? Because if he did, he's tweaking.
He realized that whoever he was dealing with was extraterrestrial. After this experience was over, Kyle received no further instructions from them, so he began applying for jobs again.
Whoa, what the freak, bro? You are nothing but a toy. Your purpose now is to suck their anus. What? What the fuck?
Though he had done exactly what he was told by them, they still followed him everywhere. As time went on, they started harassing him day and night.
Oh, nah.
He began hearing voices more and more often, and he began to hallucinate things that he knew weren't real. They also started playing with him sexually. Both the males and the females would play out their fantasies in his mind. This, of course, came with more random and uncomfortable erections, as well as extreme prostate stimulation.
Nah, because if we're going to be so, I actually know a nigga, right? I know a nigga who told me, bro, this nigga had a demon attached to him, right? And the demon made him play with his booty hole, bro. That joint I was like, whoa, freaky demon. But, nah, this is something that they do, though. There was definitely periods in my life, I wasn't on no play with my butt stuff. I wasn't doing that. But there was periods in my life where, like, when my mind was, like, very open, I would just have sexual shit get sent to my mind. It was never, like, it was always, like, it would always be, like, a woman, and, like, it would be, like, they're literally, like, on my D. I would just see a woman on my D constantly, just getting sent to me. Then my you feel me, start getting erect. But me, I just learned to shut my mind off to that stuff, and it just stopped happening. But I definitely experienced the mental images of women trying to do me, and then my Johnson responding to that. But this is also crazy. I just read it. Where's it at? He said something about ejaculating and he couldn't stop ejaculating, bro. Where's that joint at, bro? I definitely just read that somewhere.
The harassment continued for weeks and intensified as time went on. Kyle did his best to maintain his...
Here it is. The rest of the night, they continually stimulated my peen, and I couldn't stop ejaculating. Can I fight the reptilians, please? I made a video about an ayahuasca trip, about some girl who did ayahuasca and, like, the shaman cursed her and stuff. I wanted to box inside that video. With the reptilians, can I slice these niggas, bro? Can I slice these niggas, bro? Like, these niggas might literally make me leave my body and just start slicing them today off of hearing this story, bro.
Sanity and avoid them. This worked for a while, but eventually he had a huge meltdown. It was one day he was at the bakery when he was surrounded by a bunch of old men. Some of them looked at him and sniffed, so he knew it was them. They started stimulating his prostate simultaneously, and then they spoke aggressively. They said...
Wait a minute. So when they said they started stimulating his peen and his butt, were they literally touching him, or like doing like the energy stuff that they usually do?
Humans are nothing more than the result of a successful genetic experiment. You are a threat to the way these people...
That's fucked up. There is a little bit of truth in that. I ain't gonna cap. But that's fucked up to just say it like that.
People think, and you can know...
It's not nothing more than just that. Although, where we are at our current state, there was a lot of genetic experiments going on to get us to where we are right the fuck now. But there's a reason why that had to happen besides just us being experiments.
Longer be free in society. Your life is over. You are nothing but a toy. Your purpose is now to suck their private parts.
That's disgusting.
They continue to say other explicit things, Kyle says, that are too obscene that he doesn't even want to repeat them. But before they finished talking, he became enraged. It took every ounce of willpower he had not to kill them. So he left the store and tried to calm down, but it only got worse. The rest of the night, they continued to stimulate him. It got to the point where he was in serious pain. They finally stopped after he broke down and became completely distraught. It was to the point where he couldn't take anymore and attempted suicide. He filled a charcoal grill with lit coals, put it in his car, and rolled up the windows. He
What?
reclined his seat and went to sleep, and he should have died, but they woke him up in an extreme panic, which caused him to get out of the
What? Out of all the ways to kill yourself, why would you do it like that? Why not just take like mad pills? You feel me?
car. As he slowly regained consciousness, Kyle was very upset to still be alive. He had no clue where to go, so he decided to check himself into the VA. They shipped him straight to the mental ward, but nothing improved. The medication they gave him did nothing. He just sat there surrounded by a bunch of psychotic people, and it was exasperating. He knew their goal was to ruin his life by making him into a crazy person.
Yeah.
So he became determined to not let that happen.
What happened? Didn't he say that he meditated and contacted a being that made him feel good? What happened to that being? Or was that being always just a reptilian?
And started fighting back. So after he was let go from the VA, Kyle went back to the altar to ask them what they wanted from him. At this point, Kyle was numb and he wasn't even afraid anymore. So he goes to the altar, he asks what do they want from him, and they respond by saying, "We want you as our sex slave."
Yeah, they do
they were
that.
serious, Kyle sat there waiting for them to do something. But all they said was, "Keep coming to church." So he did.
What? Why would you look?
After a few more services, he found himself talking to Tim, the pastor, face to face. The pastor told Kyle he should become a minister. They were in mid-conversation when suddenly
Okay, so I feel like what they wanted him to be changed at several periods of time. I think that this part, the slave part, I think they wanted him as a slave. I mean, then again, they probably still kept on doing the slave stuff to him. But I think they kind of just settled for the slave stuff if he wasn't gonna fully follow their agenda of like being a school shooter or like being a minister, whatever the heck. You feel me? You feel me? What I'm trying to say is, I don't think they only wanted him to be a SCX slave, but at the same exact time, I'm sure they would have kept on doing sexual stuff with him no matter what else he did. You know what I'm trying to say?
the pastor revealed his true form. He has no clue how he did it, and it only happened for 1 to 2 seconds. But Kyle was able to draw a sketch of what he saw. His eyes, really, are what stood out and captured his attention. They were huge and bulging. The eyelids were darker green and the irises were yellow and brown with slit pupils. After witnessing this, nothing else happened. Kyle continued to attend the altar for a few more services,
But why?
waiting for them to do something. They did nothing except tell him to submit and surrender. Kyle had no idea what they meant, so he finally left the church and never went back. After leaving the altar, they finally gave him some breathing room. They held back on their harassment, and Kyle began to recover. Kyle decided to make one final attempt at a normal life by pursuing a career as a pharmacist. He started taking classes at NIC to finish up the prereqs he needed. He also started volunteering at a local
Yeah, that nigga said, fuck the government.
pharmacy. Unfortunately, though, they followed him to
What happened to the Jesus sacrifice thing, though? What happened to that?
school. There were several of them in every class he took. They made it impossible for Kyle to study, and they continually harassed him
Wait, who?
at the local pharmacy. Unfortunately, though, they followed him to school. There were several of them in every class he took. They made it impossible for Kyle to study, and they continually harassed him, especially while taking tests. But even with everything going on, he still managed to get an A-, an A and P during the fall semester. Sadly, though, this success was short-lived. The pressure in spring semester was far too intense. Every time he went to class, they started manipulating his brain until he got into a blind rage. They would flood his body with adrenaline. The females would stimulate his penis, and the males would stimulate his prostate. Kyle wrote this was incredibly exhausting. Every moment he spent in the classroom was absolute torture. The classes were already extremely difficult without all of this added pressure. Kyle concluded that his chance for a normal life was ruined. That he was too smart for his own good, so these entities decided to remove him from society. They were worried that he might change the way other people think, which could lead to problems. Problems in the form of scientific revolutions. If we get much smarter as a species, we are going to become a threat to. So
So they targeted him because he was smart. There gotta be something more to that, bro.
Their existence. Kyle writes that if you were to talk to him in person, you could see that he's not crazy at all. The Martians are just so good at hiding in plain sight that no one would know they exist unless they revealed themselves. They are able to fool us so well that what he's saying sounds impossible. However, they are 100% real. Realize their technology is millions of years more advanced than ours. And think about that. Think about the advancement we've made in the last 100 years. Once you've done that, try to imagine what millions of years of technology would look like. Kyle then writes the president is well aware of them, which is why he wrote him a personal letter, and he hopes he does something about it. And that what Kyle did was his last resort to take action to bring this to the public's attention. And just to make things very clear, Tim and John in this story were not wild human beings. Wild humans are normal people like you and I, and Tim and John had minds who were controlled from birth by the Martians. He wants people to know that the pastor he believed,
You know, him trying to like pop at the priest, bro. That was not smart. What would have been smart was just trying to expose them. What he should have did was recorded videos at night of him ejaculating. Like if he got to the point where he didn't care about going to jail and stuff, he also shouldn't have cared about showing proof that his Johnson's just getting hard and he's just nutting out of nowhere. That's what I would have did, right? I would have did that. And like if I stopped giving a about everything, bro, on them nights when they just trying to make me get hard and make me nut, bro, I'm recording that stuff. Like, yo, what the heck is going on here? You know what I'm saying? I gotta show proof somehow, bro.
he killed is not who we think. He says it's hard to imagine, I know. Nonetheless, it's all true. Why would I give up a career as a pharmacist to do this?
Now that is true. That is true. Now, granted, a lot of school shooters though, they began programmed by the government to shoot schools. I ain't gonna cap, at least from what I've seen before. And they like usually like be out their freaking mind. And this guy seemed like he's still kind of in his mind. I don't know. I'm trying to find out why he thought it was smart to shoot him, to be honest. I'm trying to find out a lot of stuff, to be honest. I'm just gonna shut up and let the video talk.
He says that he's actually left out many details from his story, but he wanted to write down the most critical events in order to make it coherent. And he says if he wants to know more, like how I discovered there are multiple species of them, feel free to write to me. And he actually is still serving out his prison sentence, somewhere in Idaho, I believe. In his manifesto, he also has a Q&A. One of the questions is, how do you know about their technology? He says, I've seen them use it, and they have talked to me about it. This was how I learned about their breeding stock of remote...
My thing is also, if they want to make, like, why are they telling him certain stuff in the first place if they don't want him to expose them or whatever the heck? Like, I'm confused. I don't get it. I feel like I feel like the reptilians wanted him to work with them, but he just didn't want to work with them, so instead they kind of just tortured him, I guess. And then I think they might have gave him the idea. I think they might have gave him the idea to pop at the pastor to make him go to jail. They might have did that.
Control humans. Physically, their humans are no different than us. They just lack a mind of their own. Why would they tell you so much? They value me because I'm smart. They were also very confident they could take control of my mind. Turns out they couldn't. Anyway, in the interim, some of us developed a personal relationship. They are very arrogant, so they told me much more than they should have. This allowed me to understand some of the things they can do. What else have you seen? I've seen them make things appear out of nowhere. One time I was sitting on a couch and a dollar bill appeared on my lap. Another time while driving, they made a paper bag appear in my passenger seat. They used random, unsuspecting items so no one would think anything of it. I was alone both times this happened. I'm pretty sure they can pop in and out of this dimension based on other things I've seen. I'm also pretty sure they can overlap our reality with an alternate dimension. I say this because I have gone into stores where I know the employees, and suddenly there are all new employees who I've never seen before. Kyle has another section in the manifesto labeled Martian Brain and Behavior. He says, I've observed their behavior for almost a year now. Consequently, I've been able to make several deductions about them. The first deduction is based on their primary characteristics, which include they are hypersexual, hyperaggressive, and they are fearful and paranoid. In the human brain, the amygdala is responsible for all these characteristics. Therefore, Martians must have an analogous structure, and it must be greatly enlarged. The males are extremely aggressive. In their society, there's only one thing, and that is power. Whoever is the smartest, biggest, and strongest wins. He also goes on to talk about the origins of humanity, some stuff about the Martian technology, and our biological species.
Wait, nah. Hold up. Origins of humanity, where that at? That's what they need to talk about. Yeah, like what? They're power hungry megalomaniacs. Nah, I want to find out about what he found out about the origins of humans. That's what I want to know.
Wins. He also goes on to talk about the origins of humanity, some stuff about the Martian technology, and our biological species and electricity, which reads, everything in our bodies runs on electrical impulses. Our brains operate over a wide range of electrical frequencies shown here. Everything we experience in life is simply the result of electrical activity. To be more precise, everything we experience is the sequence of a series of action potentials occurring in the central nervous system. If our perception occurs due to electrical impulses, it follows that it can be manipulated with the right technology.
Yeah.
This is why Martians are able to directly alter our perception. They have the technology. They can trick our brain into visual and auditory hallucinations, smelling, tasting, heart rate fluctuations, erections, and every other CNS event. This provides a
CNS, I assume, is central nervous system.
full explanation of how they manipulated my penis as described in my story. Read about the science behind an erection here if you're not convinced yet. So as you can see, Tesla was right. Energy, frequency, and vibration allow us to control the world around us. The Martians have known this for eons.
Isn't an eon a very long time? How long is an eon? An eon's like 100,000 years, right? I doubt that are they really that old? They can't
use
be
it
eons
against
old.
us. As I said before, they own a massive stock of humans, which they breed and control from birth. Since they have the technology.
Oh, now I'm bugging. Eon is 1 billion years. Yeah, no, it wasn't for no fucking eons. These things are not over 1 billion years old.
Control a central nervous system, they can operate their humans like remote control toys. Unfortunately for us wild humans, they can control us too. In his manifesto, he actually has an illustration of these amphibious beings he saw. So yeah, in conclusion, I would say that Kyle is a schizophrenic, and this is an excellent case study. However, I'm not going to dismiss him.
Yeah, that's also very true. He could just be schizophrenic. That is something also. The government, and when he was in the Marine Corps, they could have did something to him to make this happen. Also, all right, boom. Things are not what they appear to be. The world is ruled by ancient civilizations from Mars. Pastor Tim was one of them, and he was the reason my life was ruined. I will be sharing my story with as many people as possible. I don't have the time right now. They are chasing me. I shot Pastor Tim 12 times. There is no way any human could survive that event. Nah, that is a pretty plausible thing. Anyway, I was sent my story to all the major news organizations. I have no time. I've got to go.
Completely, because on a spiritual level, I do believe that there are dark entities here. Kyle seems like a very sensitive person with a high IQ, high levels of imagination. And things just got a little too real. I mean, it is suspicious.
But now, how do you really explain the pastor getting shot in the torso and in the head, surviving, and then becoming part of the fucking government? Like, in my head, that seemed like the pastor was low-key meant to make Kyle do what he did. And then after Kyle popped at him, that reptilian pastor might have got a promotion. You never know, bro.
That the
I don't know what's really think about this story to me. I don't know what's really think. This is kind of a wild story, in my opinion.
Pastor lived after he shot him 6 times. I mean, Kyle actually was trained in the Marine Corps. He knew how to use a gun.
Yeah, that part too. Like, I'm sure he didn't just shoot these shots. He probably knew how he was shooting and why he shot how he shot. He probably knew how to properly kill a person, or unalive in GTA.
All of his shots hit. And for those of you who know guns, hollow point rounds expand once you shoot them, and they're made to kill. No human is able to survive that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
One of them hit him in the head.
Okay, so penetrated his skull but missed his brain. He severed a collapsed lung. One boy pierced his pelvis, another penetrated his skin.
5 of them hit him in the torso. That is not human, if this report is accurate.
Yeah.
And it seems to be so.
Yeah.
This pastor was then suddenly...
I don't care if he missed his brain. That's still wild.
...elected to a somewhat prominent position in Idaho state government. And maybe at the end of the day, perhaps this guy was protected by God and he's a really good person. I'm going
Wait, what? Nah, I don't like this. Reptoids notice that you notice. Send glow iggers to try to glow iggers and reptoids torture you physically, make you come non-stop. Nah, nah, nah. You see, after all this, did Kyle write this down? Glow iggers? You could have just said glowing black people. You know what I'm saying? That's what you wanted to say, right? It could be an Anunnaki being, right? But why you gotta call them iggers though? See, now I don't believe you. See, now I kind of want to see you deserve what you went through. Why would you say that? Why would you say that? Why would you even put that? Because even if this is all true, right? You don't think that saying a word like this would make you look a certain kind of way? Look, I was on your side. Now I'm kind of like, fuck you. Why would you say that?
to actually side with Occam's razor and say Kyle was schizophrenic. Like a severe case of it. But the fact that this pastor lived through an anatomically impossible to survive shooting is something that bothers me. So I don't know what that's all about. Either way, it's an interesting story. It was sort of hard for me to get through it just because it's so honestly crazy, and I hate to use that word because it's very dismissive. But I think Kyle would even agree, like it's hard to read because it's so out there. But very interesting nonetheless. And I have no doubt that he actually did truly experience all those horrible things. And he wrote that it was like he was tortured even worse than a POW. I have no doubt that he actually felt that. And hopefully these days his mind is more at ease. So for any of you who want to read the manifesto, I'm going to provide a link.
This is a wild freaking story. I don't even know what to think about this. I feel like we need more detail, bro. He definitely experienced something, and the fact that the pastor didn't die, that's wild. I don't care what you think about being schizo, that's still wild. But we may never know what this was really about. I'm gonna end the video right here. I love you all. Catch you in my next video. Peace. The freak out. You feel me?